Now, Mr. Meena, I see that you are from Rajasthan and your subject was geography. Is it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask you a few questions on geography first.
Sure.
If you look at the map of India and the map of Afghanistan, do you think we have a common boundary with Afghanistan?
Yes, sir. When it comes to northern part of India, the Hindu Kush Himalayas have a long belt. So various ranges emerge from the Pamir node, and one of that is Greater Himalayas, and similar kind of ranges emerges in the Afghanistan region as so there as a result of which we can say that Hindu Kush Himalayas are something which connects Afghanistan and India.
So therefore, you are saying that India and Afghanistan share a common boundary, and we can easily reach up to our boundary level. Is that what you are saying?
So when it comes to boundary with Afghanistan, there is a very small corridor known as Wakhan corridor. So according to that, India shares a boundary with Afghanistan, but at the same time, there is a region called as Gilgit-Baltistan and some region of the Kashmir known as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So that region has been under the illegal occupation of Pakistan since 1948. So for that purpose, such the sovereignty or our occupation it does not lie there. But at the same time, we consider that Afghanistan shares a physical boundary with us.
Okay, very good. Yes, that common boundary is under Pakistan's occupation. That's the correct answer. Okay. There are many districts in India which are tribal dominated. Is there any district in India which has more than 50% of scheduled caste population?
Sir, I'm not very sure about this, sir. I would go and read about it, sir.
Okay, but there is no such district. So the answer is 0. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Apart from Kashmir Valley and Lakshadweep, these are, of course, Kashmir Valley, as you know, has Muslim majority districts. Which are the districts in India which have a Muslim majority? Can you name some districts in India which are Muslim majority districts?
Sorry, sir, I am not able to recall any district as of now, sir.
Now there are about 12 districts which are Muslim majority, but in 1971 there were only 2, Mallapuram in Kerala and Murshidabad in West Bengal. So have a look at this, because that's also a good question to ask. Yes. Now coming to the issue of, since you are from the scheduled tribe, what do you think are the main problems of scheduled tribes in India, which have remained unsolved in the last 50, 60, 70 years?
So scheduled tribes have been distributed in various parts of India, and each region has its own unique problem. So is the case with the scheduled tribes, but there are certain common problems that we can recognize. For example, the literacy rate among the tribals is lesser than the national average. Apart from that, sir, when it comes to health conditions, the rate of anemia, which is there in the scheduled tribes, is greater than the national average, which is almost equivalent to 58%. Apart from that, sir, there has been problems like poverty and access to education, especially since our education system has been such that the vernacular language was not so recognized until now. In the recent national education policy, we have taken positive steps for that. Apart from that, sir, there has always been a debate between social development and economic development, and it has been seen that most of the displacement-led problems are there in the regions where tribals are in the majority. So For example, dam creations are there, mining projects are there, and in these situations, there are a huge number of scheduled tribe populations which are being displaced, and I see it as one of the significant problems among the tribal people.
Well, your answer is right, but you have forgotten to mention many other problems. One is land alienation, because if you look at the population of scheduled tribes in district-wise, look at their share in 1961 and now in 2011, you'll find their share is going down. In fact, even in Scheduled 5 areas, there are many places where scheduled tribes are not in the majority. So therefore, land alienation is one. Then you forgot to mention forestry. Forestry is a very big issue. Minor forest products, the government may have given them rights, but still there are many controls. Forests are becoming timber oriented. There should be more trees which will give minor forest products. So that is another issue. So therefore, and controls over forests thing, and the non-implementation of TESA, non-implementation of Forest Rights Act, that again you should have mentioned. Plus, you should have mentioned shifting cultivation, which is a very big issue in Odisha or Telangana, plus also in the northeast called Jhum there. It's called, and Podu is called in Odisha. So, and governance is an issue. So these are some of the issues that you should keep in mind.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Now, coming to comparing scheduled tribes and scheduled castes, it is generally one finds that scheduled castes on the whole have done much better than scheduled tribes.
Yes.
What are the main factors behind this?
Yes. So mainly the scheduled caste, the locations in which the scheduled caste are mainly concentrated are in the plain areas, and they have been able to integrate themselves with the mainstream society. So they are able to get better education, better economic opportunities. But at the same time, when we look into the issues of the scheduled tribe, they are generally, so the nature is such that they are shy in nature, and geographical isolation is the factor because of which so they have not been able to integrate themselves with the mainstream society. So they are not able to get the opportunities and amenities which are there in the regular mainstream society. So as a result of which, we see themselves as economic and educationally backward in nature.
These are two certainly important factors: isolation, plus scheduled castes living in more fertile regions like Punjab, and scheduled tribes living in areas which are plateau areas, semi-arid, monocrop, etc. But three or four very important factors you did not mention. One is leadership. No, scheduled castes had very good leadership: Dr. Ambedkar, Jagjeevan Ram, Kansi Ram, Mayawati, etc. There is no such all-India leader for scheduled tribes. The other is language, because they speak a dialect which is different from the language which is spoken or which is the medium of instruction. So therefore, their education suffers. So that's another factor. And the third factor is that scheduled tribes, when they are harmed by government policies, they do not agitate. They just suffer silently or take to guns. The middle path of agitational politics is not known to them. Well, whereas in India, the history of last 70 years shows that if you have any grievances, you should agitate. You should take out procession. You should, gerao the collector. You should shout slogans. You should impress the MLAs, etc. This kind of strategy of agitation is not known to them. So that's another reason why either they suffer silently, or you displace them, they will go and start running a rickshaw, etc. So that's again an important factor that you should keep in mind. Okay. Let me come to a different subject now. Let's talk about India's development as a whole. Why is India not doing so well on social indicators as compared to, say, Bangladesh? What is so specific, so special about Bangladesh that they have done much better on health, education, gender, poverty, sanitation, even on TFR, Bangladesh has done better than India. Why?
So I would say the basic structure of primary healthcare, which is there in India, is so quite lesser. Sir, it is, sir, I would say inferior in comparison to the other developed countries or even say Bangladesh, because our main focus has been on tertiary sector. Even if you take the example of our healthcare expenditure, so far it was only 1.54%, and recently it has been increased to nearly 2.5%. But still, the majority
2.5% of what?
Sir, 2.54% of the GDP.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sir, the structure of spending has been such that we spend maximum on the tertiary healthcare sector, while so generally there is an ignorance on the primary healthcare sector and the curative healthcare sector as well. And because of these things, the healthcare is, so I would say that it's out of the reach of the poor people and the rural people which are there. And because of which, sir, the TFR, MMR, and IMR, these are some of the issues which have not been addressed so far. But I am hopeful that in the recent budgets, as the Honorable Health Minister said, that our focus will be on the curative as well as preventive healthcare, and we will spend higher on the healthcare sector. In that regard, sir, I am hopeful that things will go on in a better direction.
Well, you did not say anything about Bangladesh. And why is Bangladesh doing so better? What is so special? What is so different in Bangladesh than India? Is the bureaucracy better? Is their government more focused? Or why Bangladesh? Please read about this. Bangladesh has got very large NGOs. It is a civil society's contribution that is very important there. Like BRAC, there are many NGOs which employ more than 10,000 people. BRAC, the largest NGO, employs 80,000 people. It's a very big number. And out of that, 80% are women. Plus, Bangladesh has done very well on labor-intensive industries like textiles and garments. Garment export is doing very well. So women get employment. So therefore, parents feel that it's better to delay the marriage of the daughter. Even when she gets married, she feels it's better to delay the arrival of the first child. Let me keep on working. So therefore, that's how gender indicators improve and health improves and other things follow. So the role of NGOs plus foreign funding is something that is very important. Lastly, please. Lastly, there is talk about introducing uniform civil code. What is your take on this?
So, although our constitution under the DPSP Article 44 recommends or suggests the government to introduce uniform civil code, and so there will be certain benefits arising out of it. For example, so the discrimination among the gender and other uncertainties which are there in various religions can be rectified. But at the same time, India recognizes cultural diversity, religious diversity in the personal sphere, and for that purpose, Article 29, 30, which are there, sir, because of which diversity has been a core characteristic of Indian society. And for that purpose, sir, I believe that sir, although uniform civil code is something which has to be there, but it is not the right time to implement uniform civil code, as also the uniform civil code, for that purpose, Law Commission in its 267th report has recommended that at the present time, uniform civil code is neither feasible nor desirable.
No, but you are contradicting yourself. First of all, you said that uniform civil code has to be there, and now you are saying that it is neither desirable nor feasible.
Sir, I meant to say that, sir, at some point of time we have to have uniform civil code, but at the same time, it is not the correct time for that.
Let me just focus on this. At some point of time, we should have uniform civil code. That's what your stand is. Okay. Now, let me give an example.
Yes.
In UP or in North India, inter-cousin marriages are not permitted. In South India, inter-cousin marriages take place. Even, uncle-niece marriages take place. Now, would you like to impose UP law, UP custom on the South? Or would you like to introduce South and Southern custom in UP? If you want a uniform civil code. since you are saying Uniform Civil Code is desirable, so is it desirable to enforce UP practice in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra Pradesh? Will they accept it?
In my opinion, right to marriage is a fundamental right under Article 21. And so for that purpose, it should be the choice of individual to whom one should marry. So rather than imposing customs on other people, it should be a choice of choice and freedom of the individual.
Therefore, your correct answer should be it is equity which is desirable. There should be no law, no custom which discriminates against women, whether it is polygamy or triple talaq, they must all go. But uniformity is not a desirable thing because marriage custom may vary. And even among the Hindu community, there are customs which vary from community to community. And one should respect the diversity of customs, and there is no need to. This is neither desirable nor feasible. Oh, that should be your stand. But say it only after you've given all the arguments. Don't jump to conclusion. Okay. Thank you so much. Now I'll pass it on to my friend Mr. Verma.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Hello, Rajkumar, can you listen me?
Yes, sir. I can listen to you, and sir, a very good afternoon, sir.
Oh, thank you. And good afternoon to you too. So, you are Rajkumar Meena from Jaipur, and you are already there in some services, right?
Yes.
Indian Defense States Group.
Yes.
And I can see from your profile that you have not opted for many of the jobs. Okay, anyway. Let me start with a very simple question. Have you read Indian Preamble? Let's
Yes,
say
sir.
India, that is Bharat. There are 5 words regarding India.
Yes, sir.
What are those 5 words?
So the 5 words are sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republic.
Oh, very good. And you believe these are in these orders only? In the way you numbered it?
As far as I am able to recall,
Yeah,
this is the
you are correct.
correct.
Let me derive 2 questions from this same. India is both. It's a democratic country as well as a republic also. Is these 2 terms different or same? And if different, in what way?
So the term democracy means that the state is chosen by the people, and the real power rises. The real power lies in the people. And apart from that, republic means means that the state has been from that there is popular sovereignty.
Rajkumar, your voice is cracking little bit. Can you repeat? Would you please repeat it? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So according to me, so democracy means that so people chooses the government. So 2 forms of democracy, that is direct and indirect democracy. Through such electoral methods, people choose the government. But sir, in republic, the meaning of the republic lies in 2 ways. One is that the head of the state is elected by the people, and there is popular sovereignty.
Okay.
So these.
I think your answer was quite correct, but you added unnecessarily a last word that it's a popular sovereignty. Republic simply means that the head of the state, like in Indian case, the head of the state is obviously the President of India. He is directly or indirectly, in India case, it is indirectly elected by the people. So it's better to understand republic in contrast with monarchy. Like Britain is a democratic country, but at the same time, it's not a republic; it's a monarchy. Okay.
Monarchy.
Yes. The second word is secular word, no? And
yes.
I think today's context, it's very important to understand this word secular. What do you mean by saying that India is a secular country? Constitutionally, what does it mean? What are the features, constitutionally? I'm not going into the political debates. When we say India is a secular country, means what?
Sir, a secular country means that state would not interfere in the religious matters of the people. And
Okay.
according to our constitution, we follow a positive model of secularism, and its provisions are there in various parts of the constitution. So especially in the fundamental part 3 of fundamental rights, under article 25, 26,
Mm-hmm.
and so according to them, sir, state would resist to discriminate among the people on the basis of their religion, and as well as sir, the culture of various religions will be recognized. So, for example, some minority can establish their own institutions. Some minority based on their religion or having a distinct culture will have the autonomy to practice themselves. There are distinct. There is a distinct.
Okay. Can we make it very simple in 3 lines? Number one, a state has no religion of its own. Number two, religion is a private affair. Number three, a state shall not discriminate only on the ground of religion. Am I right, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, at international forum, you might be aware, I mean, everybody in the world is aware of now Ukrainian-Russian crisis.
Yes, sir. Yes.
How you look at it? Who is wrong? Putin is wrong, or Zelensky is wrong, or NATO is wrong, or Biden Sahib is wrong? कौन कहाँ क्या कर रहा है? How you look at this crisis?
So I believe that sir, it won't be correct to say that a particular side is wrong, because there have been violations of human rights and international laws from both the sides.
Mm-hmm.
At present time, Russia has entered into the war and it does not know how to end it. And Ukraine has come. US has put the US has entered into the.
Okay.
Out. And so Ukraine does not know how to come out of it.
Okay. Let me ask you, had you been the Putin, आप अगर पुतिन होते तो क्या करते इस सिचुएशन में?
Sir, I believe that the major wrong that the Russian government has done is the violation of human laws and the killings which have been there among the civil population. So I believe that I would have ignored it, because the main purpose of Russian government is at present time is to topple the government, change the state of Ukraine, and apart from that, make the Donbas and southern part of the Ukraine as autonomous region. For that purpose, I don't believe that the killings of the civilian people was justified. So I would have not done this.
So, if I can infer from your answer, you are very categorical in your answer that whatever Putin has done is not wrong, but the human right violation cases are wrong. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I can say that sir, there are apprehensions from the Russian side. Although war is not justified in any situation, but sir, if there was a war, then I would have definitely not go for the civilian people.
Okay. Last two questions from my side. Second and last question. Do you think that the Indian state should, continue with affirmative action? Do you think it is required now? Like reservations and all that, 5 kilo anaj and everything. Government is too much into this at the cost of development. Do you think government must continue with this?
So India is a welfare state according to Article 38 of the Constitution, and so there are large inequalities, sir, in the Indian society on the basis of religion or caste and communities. And for that purpose, yes, I believe that there has to have affirmative actions even at the present time. But at the same time, I would say that the rectification or regular updations of the list of the caste, and apart from that, regularization of the subsidy has to be there, so that not a very minimal amount of people might not be able to get the benefits of majority of the portion.
Okay. So the last question from my side, and it is going to be little awkward question for you. Okay. So have your compose, maintain your compose, and try to answer it. If I'm not wrong at having information, I'm told by many ST candidates that all the benefits of ST reservations is being monopolized by Meenas of Rajasthan. So how you look at it?
So I believe that the major purpose of affirmative action is to have equality among the people, and for that reason, yes, sir, I also believe that if there has to be change, so it should be regular updation of the data, and for that purpose, the government has to come with the recent data available, and list have to be updated for that purpose. Even if the Meena community has to come out of the reservation, so that would be fine. But so in my opinion, these allegations or these things have to have a sufficient basis that for that purpose, the data has to be there with us.
No, I mean, do you think like government should go ahead with categories within categories? Like, do you think that ST categories need to be, made into different categories so that proportionate benefit or justice is done to all? I just want to have your opinion.
So I also believe the same, that a small community should not get the benefit of all the reservation, and for that purpose, the category within the categories can also be a solution, and for that purpose, we need to have a regular updation of data.
Okay, thank you, Rajkumar. Good luck, all the best. Huh?
Hello, how are you, Rajkumar?
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I'm very good, sir. How about you, sir?
Very good. Rajkumar, you created gesture-based imagine editor using machine learning.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning?
So machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, so in which so there are algorithms based on which a machine learns through various inputs, and through the use of artificial intelligence, we make the machine such that it can take decision on its own and mimic the human intelligence.
Okay. So there is nowadays there is an increase in the industry of artificial intelligence. Can you please cite some challenges related to the growing industry of artificial intelligence?
Yes, sir. So according to me, such challenges can be divided such that there are economic challenges. For example, there can be issue of large scale unemployment. So because automation would be there because of the artificial intelligence. So there can be ethical challenges as well. For example, there was a machine for recognition of human based on the images, and for that purpose, it was found that there was racial discrimination because most of the tests which were being there in the machine was based on white people. Apart from that, so there are certain issues related to social aspect as well. For example, most of the advantage that would be taken as far as present context is concerned would be taken by the men themselves. So women would not be able to reach or get the benefits from the rise of artificial intelligence as of now. So these are the certain challenges I can recognize.
Okay, good, very good. There was a news. Pali in Jammu becomes India's first carbon neutral panchayat.
Yes, sir.
What is carbon neutral panchayat?
So the net emission, when the net emission of a particular area is equivalent to the carbon dioxide absorbed by the nature, when they neutralize each other, the emission and the absorption, that particular area is then known as carbon neutral.
if the phytoplanktons of all the ocean become removed, or we can destroy, we will destroy it, then what will be the effect on oceanic ecosystem?
So phytoplanktons plays a significant role in the oceanic ecosystem. For example, they becomes a part of the food of various organisms which are there, and so these organisms will further become the part of food of some further species which are there in the further ecosystem or food chain. So for that purpose, sir, a large scale disruption, disturbance which would be there in the food chain. Apart from that, ocean also absorbs a large amount of carbon dioxide and heat, and that would also be disturbed, and because of which the net emission of carbon dioxide would be there from the ocean itself rather than absorbing it.
It will
And so
increase
these
in
are,
in the environment.
sorry sir,
It will increase drastically increase in CO2 level in the environment, right?
yes, true sir, and that would lead to further global warming and climate change.
Okay, okay. There was a news in recently, Kuril Island. Do you know what is Kuril Island? Kuril, Kuril Island, and where it is?
So these are volcanic islands located in the northwestern part of Pacific Ocean, near to Japan and Russia.
Ukraine or Russia, or Japan and Russia?
So Japan and Russia, I believe.
Okay, एक बार check कर लेना.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
अच्छा, tell me the boundary dispute between Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. What is the reason behind dispute of boundary?
Sorry, sir. I have not gone through that article, sir. I would go and read about it, sir.
Okay, what is digital economy?
So digital economy involves the use of digital technologies in the financial sector. For example, so the so payment transaction through digital media. For example, UPI has been there, and so net banking facilities are there. So these reduce the physical financial transaction and replace it with the digital transaction. So these are
And what is digital tax?
sorry, sir.
What is digital tax?
So digital tax means that whatever the digital transaction has been done, especially in the international market from one country to another, there will be a certain.
Can you repeat?
So yes, sir. So digital transaction involves whenever there is a transaction between two parties on digital media, especially in case of international trades or international transaction, there would be a levy of certain amount of tax. So recently, government came up with the idea where any company would use the IP address of a location in India, then a digital tax would be imposed on that company, and the government would collect the tax.
Okay, and what make it difficult to tax the digital economy?
So because so it would be really difficult for the government to trace the IP address of each and individual transaction. Apart from that, there can be use of technologies like VPN, virtual private network, because of which one can change the location. And apart from that, digital transaction can also involve other currencies like cryptocurrency, so which can be anonymous in nature. So for that purpose, it will become very difficult for us to levy the tax.
Okay, very good. And last one from my side. What laws govern tapping the phone?
So under the Indian Telegraph Act, government certain agencies of central government and state government can tap the phone. So the law allows 10 central agencies and state police to tap the phone, and for that purpose, approval has to be given in written by the Secretary of the Home Minister. And if it is and a special provision can be made where joint secretary can also give the sanction.
So you are working in the defense estate.
Yes, sir.
Defense estate services. What is your role right now?
So currently I am going under training. Sir, I joined the services on 21st of February. So it has been 2 months since I am going training. And sir, the main role of the service is related to management and management of the defense land. And apart from that, sir, general administration of the 62 cantonment boards which are there in India.
Okay, okay. Can you tell me the reason why there is so much widespread encroachment of government land in India?
So since the independence, our population has increased a lot, and because of which there has been a pressure on the land. And apart from that, so there has been such since there is it is very difficult to demarcate or demarcate the land of the government. So it becomes very difficult to take actions upon the encroachers. And apart from that, sir, sometimes the action which will be taken, actions which are taken lags behind the encroachment, and there are issues with the laws as well. So, for example, so there are provisions under the Public Property Eviction of Illegal Occupants Act 1971, which allows the government officials to undo the encroachment process. But at the same time, so there are legal issues. For example, a 30-day notice has to be given, and that person can challenge the notice in the court. And there are so many court cases which are undergoing in the judiciary, because of which the process becomes very slow. And because of these, encroachment becomes.
Do you think that the steps that the government is taking right now, the what we see as the bulldozer culture that has come to be used in the media as well, that is a correct step in this regard?
So encroachment is an illegal thing, and for that purpose, encroachment has to be undone. So in that sense, I would say that encroachment would have to be removed. But at the same time, there are allegations on the government that the timings have been such that it looks like there has been certain motive behind that. But as far as the encroachment is concerned, I believe that it is totally correct.
As states, they are also. Are there any instances or where defense land has been also under encroached?
Yes, sir. As per an answer from the Ministry of State of Defense, there has been an encroachment of nearly 9,388 acres of defense land, and we are currently undergoing various processes to undo that encroachment.
Okay, so government recently created a National Land Monetization Corporation. Have you heard about it, NLMC?
Yes, sir, I have heard about it.
Okay, so will it also be handling defense land?
Sir, as far as present time is concerned, it would not handle Defense Ministry's lands.
Okay, so what kind of lands will it be handling?
So there are certain large amount of tracts of land which is there with the PSUs.
PPS. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what do you understand by land monetization?
So land is an asset for the government, and so a government can create or realize the value if it is monetized. Although there will be no change in the ownership, but at the same time, those assets can be monetized, and economic value will be generated from those lands. For example, so there can be creation of infrastructure on those land parcels, and through that, so revenue will be generated, and that would be shared between the two contracting parties.
Okay. Since you have a background in electronics engineering, can you tell me how technology can be used in land management, improving land management?
Yes, sir. So electronics plays a huge role in land management. For example, starting from the demarcation time. So in order to identify the boundaries, there are certain technologies. For example, satellite imagery, drone surveillance, or even remote sensing that can be used for monitoring purpose. And apart from that, sir, reconnaissance purpose also electronics can be used. And apart from that, sir, data has to be collected for the defense, for the land, and that data. Sorry, sir.
Land records, can they be digitized?
Yes, sir. Land records can be digitized through.
Has
Sorry, sir?
has the government taken any stand in this regard?
Yes, sir. As far as Ministry of Defense is concerned, there has been a software called as Raksha Bhumi software, which is currently undergoing its 5th version, and in it each and every coordinate of the Ministry of Defense land has been recorded.
Okay, okay. My last question to you: have you heard the term SAR, specific absorption ratio?
Sir, I have heard the term, but I am not able to recollect that definition, sir.
Okay. Will deployment of 5G will have any impact on radiation levels?
So it was alleged, but so far we have not been able to come to evidences that it will create harm to particular species or even say animals.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, Raj, that's all from my side. I'll pass on to the chairperson, sir, now for the feedback. Just hold for a moment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now before we start giving our feedback, let me ask you what you thought of your interview and what is your impression about the questions and the answers that you gave.
So I believe that sir, the structuring of the answer could have been done better. Sir, I could have come with some good points. For example, the questions you asked from me. For example, the issues with the tribal population, or
Right.
even say the difference between the problems of SCs and STs. Why they have been able to develop themselves at a much in a much better way. So the answers could have been organized and presented in a well manner.
No, I'm
Apart
glad. Yeah. Apart
Yes,
from
sir.
that, yes. Any other point? Any other point?
I believe that there was one question regarding the Kuril Island asked by us, sir, and sir, I was not very sure. So I believe
About
so about an island called as Kuril Island, there was a question.
okay.
So this is something related to current affairs as well. So I would need to brush up the current affairs part as well.
Yes. No, you're very right that there are certain questions you can always anticipate. Questions on tribes versus scheduled caste, general development, India versus Bangladesh, or interstate comparison, or gender issues, why India is not doing so well on gender indicators or on development indicators, SDGs. So these are, and you should prepare the answer. You should say, okay, if this question is asked, these are the 4 points that I'll make. Then you would be able to, once you have done this exercise, then you would be able to, feel that you have given all the answers. Otherwise, what happens is if you don't prepare, then ye to bada acha point tha, kehna reh gaya. So that is what happens. So that is one thing I would like to advise you, that think of about 10 or 15 subjects on which likely question can be asked and prepare points, and so that you can always rattle out those points as and when need arises. Then the other point here is that there are questions which are of sensitive nature, questions which are controversial, like the Uniform Civil Code or about hijabs. So give a very balanced view. Don't jump to conclusion and start criticizing, because that will show that you have a closed mind. Your attempt should be to show that you have an open mind, you understand both sides of the picture, and you are able to see arguments on both sides. But this is what your answer would be. This is what needs to be done. For instance, on the question of reservation, you said very rightly that the government should prepare a list and find out which communities have done well, which have not done well. That's a good answer. But at the same time, there are three factors which you can keep in mind. Number one, it's a question of when your goal is inclusive development, then to achieve inclusive development, you need to do both safety net programs and also programs which will improve the capacity of the people to earn on their own. Now, because government has failed to achieve the second goal, which is through education, through health, through nutrition, to see that the capacity of the poor also improves, which is reflected in Sustainable Development Goal number 10, which is on inequality in one of the targets is that the income of the bottom 50% should rise at a faster rate than the income of the top 1 or 2%. In India, it is not happening. It is the top 1%, which is the income is rising about by 20% per annum, and the income of the bottom 50% is rising only by 1%, 2% per annum. So unless we bridge this gap till that point of time, safety net programs, unfortunately, will have to continue. So that is one way of to answer it. The other way of answering it would be to make a distinction between what is desirable and what is feasible. Now, it may be desirable to say that Meenas are already quite well off. They should be stuck off the list of affirmative action category. But is it feasible? Is it politically feasible? There has to be, to make it politically feasible, there has to be demand from the bottom so that political parties feel that, okay, if we lose the votes of Meenas, we might gain the votes of others. So that, therefore, the distinction between feasibility and desirability is something that you should keep in mind. So questions could be asked. For instance, the question was asked about secular, whether India's constitution says that we are secular. Yes, it says now we are secular. But in 1950, we did not say so. We did not say so because at that point of time, and perhaps even now, secularism means that state will not interfere in religious practices. And at that point of time, state of India was very keen to interfere in religious practices, abolish untouchability, control Hindu temples. Hindu temples are not, like churches, are not free. They are controlled by, almost all large temples are controlled by government. So it is, in India, the model is not autonomy of religious practices and churches from the state. It is the state which is supreme, which is ahead, which is above the religious practices. So that is one thing that you need to keep in mind. And so therefore, these are some of the issues that you should, I think, have in your mind. As I said, you could think of the likely question that would be asked, and then you prepare. But on the whole, you did quite well, and I'm sure you will do quite well, and you will be in the survey that you want to. I'm very sure about this. But it all depends on how you did in the written examination. But in case you have any issue on any clarification to seek or any point which is not clear, बताइए मैं हम तैयार हैं हम लोग बात करने के लिए.
Sir, I would like to ask, since I am in a service and sir, people say that the majority of the portion of questions would be asked from your service only. Sir, but it's been only 2 months since I have been in the service. So should I spend the remaining part of my preparation for the interview? Sir, where should I invest more?
No, I don't think they will ask questions. See, there could be some general issues about your service. But first of all, the members themselves may not know so much about your service. So therefore, you can rely on this fact that they would be as more ignorant than you are, and they may not ask questions. And also, it is not very likely that most questions would be on your service. Most questions would be on general issues, which we have discussed. But certainly, you should know something about your service and read the annual report, etc. But don't use all your time only in brushing up knowledge about your service. At least that will not be my advice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.